What is going on, guys? This is Hero Talk, and we have news regarding Spider-Man and the question if he leaves the MCU or not. Now, if you do not know why Spider-Man actually is in the MCU right now, I'll just quickly summarize what happened. So originally, Spider-Man belonged to Sony, and it still does partly, and that's why Sony Entertainment produced the Sam Raimi trilogy, the 3 movies with Tobey Maguire playing Peter Parker. And it started out pretty well with the first movie, and the second movie was a huge success, and people, fans, and movie reviews stated that it might be the best superhero movie ever done until then, and maybe still until now. And then the third movie came. It wasn't that much of a success, but the studio still planned to make a sequel, but that project was cancelled very quickly, and the studio decided to make a reboot with Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. And so came The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. The first one already wasn't that much of a huge success, I guess, because some reviews criticized that Peter Parker was way too cool and not very much a nerd, and too skater boy-ish to be like Peter Parker is actually. But I guess the first movie was better than the second one for critics, because I actually enjoyed the second one. I'm one of the few people who enjoyed it, but since the second one then didn't very well in box office, they spent a huge amount of money to do this movie, because they shot it completely in New York, I think, and this was just very expensive, but the movie didn't do very good, so they actually didn't make enough money back in order to produce a sequel. And alongside all of this, also the rest of movies that Sony was producing didn't do very great, so this brand, Sony Entertainment, that produced movies really wasn't worth much anymore after The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So all their properties of movies just lost all of their value because they just weren't a success anymore. And that's why, out of emergency, Sony decided to negotiate a deal with Marvel in order to make them use Spider-Man, so that Spider-Man will get a success again. We know now that obviously Spider-Man appeared in Civil War. He will have his own movie, and he will also appear in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers 4, that's for sure. And he will also have his sequel, so Homecoming 2, or however this will be called. Spider-Man will probably be a huge success in the MCU, just because fans are loving him, are loving Tom Holland as Peter Parker, most of them, and they just love the idea of Spider-Man being a part of the Avengers. And that's why he will probably be a huge success. So, since Sony didn't really sell Spider-Man, but only made a deal with Marvel so that they can actually use Spider-Man, so it's still Sony's property. Theoretically, they could actually not negotiate a new deal with Marvel and take Spider-Man back and make their own Spider-Man movies, which is a huge rumor right now, because Sony is producing a Venom movie and a Black Cat movie, and the Venom movie actually casted Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, and as Tom Hardy is pretty successful in Hollywood right now, and fans really love him, the Venom movie might turn out to be a success. And if it is, and if the Black Cat movie will also be a success, and Sony is making a huge amount of money out of it, this might actually mean that Sony does consider taking back Spider-Man. Now, before you panic, I would like also to say that the most intelligent and most, well, the best thing the both studios could do is actually letting Marvel use Spider-Man, because that's just what fans want, and that's what will probably bring in the huge amount of money. And if they just leave it like this, they are pretty much sure to make a huge amount of money. But if they don't, they risk that they will fail again. Anyway, to come back to the topic, I just wanted to summarize what was going on, because I didn't really cover all what was going on with Marvel and Sony recently in a video, because I didn't have much time to make one. So, to come back on the topic, recently in an interview with Empire magazine, Tom Holland, who obviously plays Peter Parker now, said the following: Peter Parker is a character we see as a 15-year-old boy and then as a 35-year-old man. He is referring to the comics here. So I have an idea of what I'd like to do, and I've pitched it, and it's already been taken into the boardroom. It would be really cool if it pans out, because it means I would be Spider-Man for a very long time. Now that is very interesting, the fact that they accepted Tom Holland's plans and ideas and wishes, and actually brought them into the boardroom where they're probably just working on stories, I guess. It already shows actually some optimism about Spider-Man's future, in my opinion. And apart from that, we know that Marvel Studio probably wants to own Spider-Man again. Maybe they don't actually talk about this openly, because it's not very smart to do that. But they probably do want that. And apart from that, Kevin Feige also revealed before Spider-Man actually appeared in Civil War, if I remember that right, he already said that they plan to make a trilogy for Spider-Man following the high school years. So every movie is a high school year. And that already shows that he actually is planning to invest much time into Peter Parker's character, and he really wants to enjoy all of his years, teenager years, I guess. And yeah, he probably also plans on how to make movies about Peter Parker growing up, becoming more mature and going to college, getting his first job, and maybe also expanding into, I don't know, just Spider-Verse storylines or something like that. Leave a comment if you want to express any thoughts on this. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more.